The master disaster with the soundboard.
Right? Restarting. Live stream. But podcast. Here we go.
Trial and
It's
error.
good to be back. Back with my friend. First time here in the studio. Hopefully it won't be his last.
Absolutely not.
Mr. Alex DeChino. Comedian, actor, and just all around awesome guy. So happy to have you.
Thank you for having me. Awesome to be here, checking out the new studio, hearing good things, getting those podcast legs under you, and soon enough, be fucking talking to the worldwide, maybe.
Right? You know, so speaking of worldwide, I don't know if you heard this story today. I heard it just, I don't know when it came out, but somebody traveling worldwide, apparently he went from the UK to Canada, and now I think he wants to be an American. I think he is American.
Uh-huh.
You got any thoughts on Prince Harry, like, leaving the royal family and becoming American?
That dude's doing anything and everything to get out. I don't know what it is. It's the things with the wife and the girlfriend. Is she not dead? Is she a he?
Well, that's the brother. That's the brother.
Oh, that's the brother. Oh, okay.
See, this is it. This family's going wild. It's going rogue. Ever since who is it? Prince Andrew got caught on the Epstein list or whatever. P. Diddler list, whatever you want to call it. It just seems to be nosediving for this family, because then Harry and Meghan they leave. They go to Canada. They go to the U.S. Now they want to be U.S. citizens, and who knows what they're doing. Why would you leave? You're a prince.
Yeah.
There are very few of them left in the world. Like, the monarch is something special. It's weird to me. I don't understand the monarch. I don't know enough British people who've explained it to me. But, like, to me, it's just the weirdest concept that you can have this family. They're pretty much royalty. They are royalty, but yet they really don't have any power. Like, they don't, like, Parliament does everything. Like, they elect, like, a prime minister. They're just kind of there for show.
Glorified celebrity-esque royalty.
And he left that life to get some Netflix money, and I don't understand it. And now he's American. And what I want to say is, do we really we got enough people crossing the border. Do we need, and I'm sure he probably did it legally, but I'm sure he probably got streamlined somehow. I'm sure he used that royal power to make sure that he got his American citizenship probably faster than most did.
Yeah, we don't need more illegals, let alone a ginger coming in to our country.
Hey, my nephew's a ginger.
Sorry. Respect to the gingers. Respect.
And he is the cutest. I gotta be honest. He little Parker man. So
love that.
Turning one soon. So I'm pumped about that.
Big
Less
Park.
than a month. Yeah.
Well, I mean, from the looks of my brother having a kid in June, July, his wife being redheaded, and Nick having some. It's so weird because, like, the last, Nick has never been a redhead. He's always been brown hair, curly here and there. But, like, the last, 5-10 years, I don't know, maybe it was just from them, hanging out too long or something, that he started to adopt this red scent in his beard. And I said, oh, man, this kid's coming out of ginger. I'll still love him unconditionally, but...
Yeah. I mean, my sister, like I said, has a, redhead, but... Or she's not redheaded. Her husband, a little bit. But... she always said gingers had no souls.
Yeah, the old lifelong line.
But it's just funny that she has one. And listen, this kid's got an amazing soul and heart, and he's
absolutely,
he's awesome. But this family though is wild.
Yeah,
this family, I don't understand the royal family. And they just keep getting stranger by the day, and then that goes to the brother now, because now not Harry, but what's the other one's name?
Oh, fucking put me on the spot here. One of the
William. That's it.
Yeah.
His wife Kate, I don't know. Have you seen some of the stuff going on with her? Is it because I'll be honest, some of the photo stuff, the video stuff, definitely looks CGI, definitely looks AI driven, definitely. Yeah. I'm not going to and I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to go down some of the roads that some people are going down.
The rabbit holes.
But there's something wrong. There's something not right with this situation. And I get that the royal family keeps things secret, but when everybody can tell, this is like telling people that UFOs don't exist.
Yeah.
How many more people need to see them before you admit that there's something flying around out there that we don't know what it is.
Absolutely.
It kind of the same thing here. Like we could see it. Like there's enough people that could see that there's something wrong.
Yeah. I'm not
Like
stupid.
why keep hiding it?
Yeah. No, I don't get it. And you would think like, my or your family's dysfunctional, and then you see these worldwide families that are in, People magazine and this, that, and the other thing, and they're dealing with, is my wife actually dead? Is this my wife? I'm now becoming an American citizen where I'm literally the top tier UK person, absolute royalty. And he's like, nah, the American dream sounds better, man. Switch this shit up.
I can't imagine that.
Yeah, I don't get it. And everything sort of, once you break into that world of like higher ups and these people who've got money and royalty, it just starts getting really weird, super odd. And then I'm like, are they, speaking of aliens, I'm like, are they the ones that are the aliens? They got the masks on, with these different, every other day, she looks like a different person, and her earlobes aren't connected to her head, and all these different ways that people
her left hand was facing the sun. Like, I don't know what they were doing. Or like, but again, I'm with you there. Like something's off.
Something's fishy. And you would think that, with being royalty, you got to kind of keep your plate clean. You got to, kind of go by the rules where, going with the wife or the girlfriend who's an actress, where there was bad blood between her and the queen, even though the queen's a jillion years old, and like how great how great does she, judge people and who they are and whatnot. I'm sure she's seen a little bit of everyone, all different types of characters, so she probably has somewhat of a good idea, but just, you'd think they'd be a little bit more buttoned up, a little more
You would think
fancy.
that, but then you think about the I believe it's Prince Andrew who was on the Epstein Island list, and very known to be. So I don't know how clean this family's really been for very long, because just like it's weird to say that, but then it goes to like the stuff going on. You talk about the Hollywoods and the elites and all that. There's stuff going on with P. Diddy right now.
Old diddler.
And something's got to be up, because you don't just get your homes raided for nothing.
No.
And it can't just be over some civil suit that somebody filed.
Yeah.
So, like, you're hearing trafficking, you're hearing weird. And I'm like, is P. Diddy really trafficking people? Like, it's just like, how wild is that to even think about?
Yeah.
To think, like,
Yeah. Puff Daddy.
Yeah, like,
Come on.
To be honest, there's enough people out there. Like, I don't know. Did you see the Cat Williams stuff? Did you watch the Club Shay Shay?
Yeah. I don't know if I saw that. I saw like a lot of the clips. He was on some podcast, and he was just kind of saying like, I've been telling y'all for the last 10 years. I'm sure. Yeah, it was a bunch of clips on YouTube, and he's like, I've been preaching this shit for years, and now fucking people are starting to finally listen to me and whatnot. So, yeah, definitely some weird stuff. And I just don't get how, you're someone of that stature, you've done all this great things, and like, I guess it's like you've done all these amazing things. You've made hit records, and you've banged the hottest chicks and been to the greatest places, where you're like, let's get into that untapped market, kids. And you're like, come on, man. What the fuck's that about? Just weird, man. Really super weird.
Yeah, and then you go back, you watch a lot of these, like you said, little clips or videos or different things, and you listen to like little like interviews or audio, and you're like, going back and listening to that just doesn't sound right. Now I can.
Yeah, didn't season well. Yeah, no.
No, and but he's got a lot of money. I didn't realize like how powerful P. Diddy was. Like apparently he's like.
He was like the.
I didn't realize it.
The cavalier behind a lot of the rap music, with being that his good friend was Big E, and they had the whole Biggie and Tupac thing, and they were tied to the hip, and that was when hip hop was becoming such a prominent thing, and especially in New York, being that we know more of that New York rap and New York history. But then, breaking it into the West and just becoming this, like I said, this sort of leader. And then, fast forward 30 years, and now this shit's coming out. You're like, it just doesn't match up. It's just odd, very odd. I don't understand. But yeah, the Hollywood scene, and that's definitely one thing that it's kind of unfortunate, because as you grow up, you start to learn a little bit more, and your eyes get a little bit wider, and you start to see different patterns. Where growing up, like you had mentioned, I've been acting since I was a kid, do stand up comedy now. And, the goal has obviously always been, Hollywood and, meeting all these people where then, every week it seems like there's something new coming out about someone else and this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, what's going on here really, And it's just, it kind of unfortunate for me because it just puts a sour taste in my mouth. But at the same time, it is something that I've been doing for so long and, I know and love. So gotta keep ripping through it. Gotta keep, taking step by step, and listen, I'm stuck at grandma's now. So, a pee-pee doesn't, pee-pee doesn't sound that bad right now. I mean, I eat enough sausages and peppers on the daily already. So, but yeah, it's odd. And this whole, Prince Andrew thing coming to America, it just shows that we still got all the goods here. But it just seems like he doesn't have any, it'd be different if he, still had that great name in the UK and he can go here and there and, feel good. But it seems like from the last thing that I've read, they kind of went all excommunicado on, the whole family kind of X'd him and his girl out. So it's like, all right, well, there's really nothing for me here. Let me try my luck over in the old US. So yeah, definitely some odd stuff.
Yeah, man.
But
so I mean, not odd stuff, but not to switch gears a little bit.
Yeah.
Comedy wise, what's going on, man? I got to hear about some shows. I haven't heard about a show lately.
Yeah.
What do you got for me?
Before COVID, I was really kind of gung-ho. My schedule was pretty packed out. And then it's one of those things like you hear people, comedians that have made it and, it's so much trial and error where, and a lot of it, like the industry itself, is all about who you know. So, there could be a spot that you didn't get just because so-and-so's friends or, having sex with this lady or this guy. But yeah, I've actually the last few months really been kind of dialing it back in. Seasonal depression is for sure real, at least for me. Everybody deals with it different.
Oh, dude, you got to be. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah,
it's
tough.
The worst.
Ren,
I got to be honest. The 3 weeks in Florida were the best.
Must be nice.
They were the absolute best because I got away from here every day. The rain, the clouds. Yeah. It's just been like it wasn't a winter where like it was so bitter cold. It was just wet and rainy and gray. And I don't live in Seattle. I don't live in Seattle.
Literally. Or the UK. Maybe that's why I moved. He's like, I can't deal with this fucking rain and all this fog. But yeah, so I feel like get into this rut where I really want to, maybe approach next year a bit different mindset wise, but it's tough. And with winter, everybody's kind of doing their own thing, that little bit of hibernation. But yeah, so I did take the winter writing a ton, and just getting more organized with a lot of it all, where really starting to approach it as a business rather than, just a hobby that I like to do, because it is has always been my dream and goal to, make this my full-time thing, to have that solid paycheck coming in where I can feel comfortable and I'm, doing what I love, which is the American dream. But yeah, I've been spending the last couple months really diving deep, writing a lot of new jokes, and starting to hit up a lot of my connections to get back onto shows. Actually, pretty cool stuff in the works. I've just spoke with two of my friends I went to Sacred Heart for college, and so both of these gentlemen, they work somewhat in the industry, and both of them have some new projects coming up in the next 2 months or so. So it's kind of gave me that motivation to really kind of take my other things and my other projects and really, light a fire under them and really see them come to life. So yeah, chipping away, trying to get after it. But, I can't lie. It's one of those things where as a child and ever since growing to adolescence into adulthood, where I'm not a finisher. Only thing I'm finishing is my food, really. But I need to really just keep, when the going gets tough, as always, keep it going, keep it moving, and really kind of just keep it locked in and have a solid plan. Like it seems like you're doing here with your podcast, coming here, checking out all the new equipment, all the organization you got going on and whatnot. It's really cool stuff, man. And that's what it's all about. It's really just finding something, a hobby, something that you love, and just not expecting anything out of it, but just putting your heart and soul to it, and seeing what comes of it.
Well, that's exactly it. I'm not trying to make billions here. But I'm just trying to have fun.
Yeah.
And that's what this is to me. This is fun. This is how I fell in love with it in college. I never went to school.
I didn't even know you went to school for this as well. But I didn't start that way. Mm-hmm.
I was thinking psychology. I was thinking I wanted to do something else.
Which is cool. I always kind of lean towards that.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Me and you think similarly about some things, and so it interests me. But what happened was I was walking down the hall one day, freshman year, and one of the kids on my floor, he had the Alabama game on. Alabama was playing, I don't know, Oklahoma or somebody. They're playing somebody decent. And I just happened to hear that, Alabama's driving, blah, blah, blah. So I peeked my head and I was like, hey, you mind if I check out the score? I'm a Bama fan.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, no problem. I see, we get to talking. Yeah. And he's like, hey, I do a radio show in the mornings here on campus, 2 days a week. Yeah. I'm dying for somebody to come in and talk with me. I'm just doing it by myself right now, and it's not going that great. Would you want to come in and do it with me? I think you'd be pretty good. I was like, absolutely not. I'm not a public speaker. I don't want to do that. That's not what I'm here for. No, it's not what I want to do. And he was like, come on, think about it. Give it one chance. If you hate it, you don't have to come back.
I'll ask you again, yeah.
So, yeah, I was like, you know what? I thought about it. And eventually, I was like, you know what? Why not? Why not just give it one chance? What the hell can it hurt? Yeah. If I don't like it, I'll walk out. Yeah. It's not that big a deal. So kid was all excited. He's like, yeah, all right. It was 10 a.m. show or something. Campus radio at Rider University.
Shout out
Rider like a Bronc.
Shout out Rider. Yeah. I had a bunch of buddies that actually went over to Rider.
So it was go in, sat down just like this, and absolutely fell in love with it from the first 10 seconds. Yeah. I was like, by the time we hit our first break, because we had to take breaks and stuff and whatever, by the time we hit, I was like, dude, people get paid to do this?
Right.
You mean I could sit here and talk sports all day? Yeah. And this is a thing? Yeah. Yeah.
Especially compared to now where everybody and their mother's got the podcast, but back then, that was something fresh, something pretty new. The only one who was really doing it were obviously sports radio, and then you had, big Howard Stern, making waves with his podcast. And it was funny because
actually, he hates podcasts. He really? Went to Sirius, yeah. Really? He actually downplayed podcasts and was like, "Oh yeah, no, he's actually not that big a fan of podcasts." From what I've heard. Yeah, I've been listening to him a bunch lately because when Janice and I went down to Florida for 3 weeks, we drove. So driving down, I just put on his channel because I didn't listen to him that week, and it just played pretty much the week of his shows. Lasted most of the drive. Yeah. But one of the conversations I remember hearing, and then I think I backed it up because I think it was something with him and Joe Rogan. That they had a little bit of a beef
or something.
And that because Joe looked up to Howard and had been on Howard's show, whatever else. But I think there was a little bit of a beef there, and it just was one of those things where Howard ended up putting down podcasts in general. So listen, I still love Howard Stern. I still think he's hysterical. I think I don't always agree with him on everything he says, but at the same time, there's still nobody else out there like him. He's one of a kind. they broke the mold with him. Like
Absolutely.
There's nobody that can mimic him, his style, the way he does it, his show in general, the Whack Pack, all of it.
Man.
I mean, come on.
Beetlejuice and
Speaking of Beetlejuice, what about Beetlejuice coming out this year?
new one?
Yeah, the new one.
Oh man,
Have you ever seen the first one? Let me ask you that first.
Come on, literally one of my favorite movies. I constantly quote lines. Michael Keaton, one of my all-time favorites. But and I feel like you would at least appreciate this. I love that the fact that they're, I guess, trying to show these younger generation, some good stuff and, make a new one. But I've always been an original guy only kind of thing. And I always think that the remakes are, it really depends. It's really got to light it up. Just because it is tough, though, too, because, the original, the remake wouldn't be able to happen without the original. So the original's, the real McCoy. So the fact that they've got this spin-off or the remake and seeing some of the other remakes that have been done this past year, it could be either hit or miss. I don't know if you're a sci-fi guy, but did you get to check out Dune?
I did not. I want to because I know I've heard nothing but spectacular things about 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I heard 2 is even better than 1.
Yeah.
And there are already plans for a third.
Oh, yeah.
Denis Villeneuve is an amazing director.
Oh, my God. One of my absolute favorites. I can't give the guy enough praise. He's
but I mean, it's... I for some reason, I didn't rush out to see 1 because it just... and don't get me wrong, love Star Wars, love the Marvel stuff, I love pop culture stuff. I'm not against Dune, but when I heard it was kind of where Star Wars ripped off Dune a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe I kind of know this story already. I don't got to rush out to see it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you hear everything going on. I know that there's just an amazing cast.
Oh yeah.
And I like I said, I've heard nothing but great things about it.
Yeah, it was so I saw the second one with one of my buddies and we kind of geek out on all, sci-fi, Marvel, all that good stuff. And we went to go see it. We got a little blitzed up for it, I'm not going to lie. And nothing like a good sci-fi movie, getting in a little faded. But we saw it and I'm like, were we just too ripped to really know what's going on here and really fully understand it? And I thought it was really good, but I was like, nah, man, I really like the first one. I saw it a second time and I was like, no, yeah, man, you went a little too hard that night. Cause I saw it the second time and I liked it so much better. But everybody's got their own things. I'm a big story guy. I like story. I like background. I like introducing characters where most people can't stand that shit. So I think I still do like the first one, but at the same time, seeing the second one again and, seeing what they did with it, I mean, every single scene is a hitter. It literally is a setup scene where you've got some, really great dialogue and some explanation as to what you're going to be seeing in that next scene. And then that next scene is just action-packed, whether it's them, riding the sandworms or them going against, the other house. And it's just one scene after another, just greater and greater. And I also think that was a tough thing because I was like, each scene got better where it almost downplayed the last one that I saw where I'm like, rocking now.
Fix it. We got levels online.
All right, good stuff. But yeah, it was one great scene after another. And I was uncertain about the dude, Timothée Chalamet. I didn't really know. There was the one movie he did, Call Me By Your Name, which was kind of like one of those cult classics that were really well received. But I feel like he didn't really do enough until that point to really have that wow factor, where then he came out in this and, I mean, he lit it up. And even though he is 100 pounds soaking wet, he's still a pretty intimidating, pretty badass dude. So I think he did really well. Josh Brolin, always amazing. The mother was great. I'm blanking on her name, but she was really good. The Baron was, what's his name? I mean, casting was incredible from it. The only thing, and I would love your take on this, Because growing up, big WWE guy.
Yeah.
Loved, a little bit of everybody. But one person who stuck out amongst the rap is Batista. Always loved it. Batista bomb. He was an animal. And then started seeing him in movies, and I was like, he's good. He's getting better. He could use some work, but he's getting better. I thought he did great with Guardians of the Galaxy. I think the character fit his kind of, I don't want to say dumbness, but kind of
dry.
like,
I feel like dryness is the right word.
Yeah, dryness. Where then he, hit Dune up, and he did good in the first one, and the second one, I think there was only really one scene that he had a pretty substantial set of lines, and it just wasn't my favorite part. And now I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm kind of like, all right, Batista can sit this one out, man. Maybe
Didn't he do what was that other one? Cabin in the Woods?
Yeah. That who was that?
It's not Shyamalan. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. Seemed like a cool premise, but I don't know, him too. I've always been, I like all those movies, those kind of mind bender, different, trying to figure it out. Meanwhile, the big hook at the end. But M. Night was one guy who I felt like was another guy who was kind of a legend, kind of grandfathered in for starting at pretty young age and making some pretty big movies. Where I watched that other movie, it was called Old. It's basically this family goes to a beach and they're hanging out there, and then the daughter starts getting like aging rapidly, and then the son is, and then there's like people dying and this, that, and the other thing. And I was super hyped for it, and then it just didn't pack a punch. And then the Cabin in the Woods, I heard same thing. I heard that series though. He did a series on, is it Apple TV or something else, where Ron Weasley's in it, and I heard that was actually pretty good. So I think that's on my go-tos, my next checkouts for sure.
As far as like wrestlers turn actors, though, I mean, he's great as Drax.
Yeah, I think he's awesome.
I think he's a good actor.
Yeah.
The Rock, I'm like, listen, The Rock, like, he's great. He's The Rock.
Yeah.
And I just want him to come in and do Rock things. He's a legend in his own right.
Absolutely.
But the one that surprised me the most in the last couple of years was actually John Cena.
John Cena, baby.
I don't know. Did you see Peacemaker?
Oh, amazing,
dude,
amazing. And that Suicide Squad that he was in.
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying, Peacemaker is like the best
hilarious
DC show I've seen. I think like it was, and for a character I had no idea about.
Yeah,
absolutely nothing. He came in and absolutely killed that role,
crushed it,
and really and he was a guy that I was looking at like you look at Batista the same way. You're like, I don't know if he's leading guy material. Like, I don't know, like maybe a little too much. Yeah, like, I still, but he came in, and I don't know if anybody else could have played that role as well as he played it. He absolutely killed it. It was hysterical. I mean, Vigilante, like that whole series was great. They just started filming season 2.
Love that.
So, I mean, obviously Gunn's directing Superman right now, so he's got a different thing going on. And I called that years ago, by the way.
That he was going to do it?
No, that I knew that there was, after he got fired from Marvel, and he got hired to do Suicide Squad, I was like, they're going to find a way to keep him. Like, they're going to find a way, because I'm like, he can do so much. And I actually predicted that. I'm like, well, when Feige's done with Marvel, he may come over too.
Yeah.
He's like, but I did say Gunn, though. And
Feige has been, I feel like not dropping the ball, but not as prominent as Gunn. I mean, in my personal opinion, I mean, I'm a big Marvel guy ever since starting with the OG Spider-Mans with Tobey Maguire into seeing Iron Man that first time, figuring out it was Favreau behind it all, and just being so immersed in the whole thing where, I mean, don't get me started where we're at now with a couple things, because I get they got to do what they got to do to make all audiences happy, but at the same time, we're really pulling a lot of strings. But still to this day, besides a couple, 1 or 2 other Marvel movies that are top favorites, Guardians 1, 2, and 3, all 3 of them were, I mean, hands down, fun watches, cool characters. On the mix of, funny enough where they're not pushing the envelope, which I feel like they did for that last Thor a little bit too much. But yeah, man, James Gunn, he rips. I mess with him hard, and I'm excited what he does with Superman, which is going to be interesting because I feel like he is such a fun creative guy where I think Suicide Squad is a little jokey, so that works. And then same thing with Guardians where Superman's a little bit more buttoned up, a little bit more kind of white bread. And I feel like he's got to get a little bit more serious with it, but at the same time, I'm sure he'll do some good stuff.
I actually think it's going to flip the tide of Marvel DC. Like I think this is going to be where DC starts to produce some better content and bring in as much, if not more, than Marvel, because we all know Marvel's been struggling a bit. But it's so hard. You had, 27 films leading up to Endgame and Infinity War, and you have all that stuff, and you crescendoed. You already reached a mountain. It's hard to keep going higher. You know what I mean? So there's really only no way to go but down from there.
Yeah.
And it's hard because they still haven't got the traction back. Now they still have Fantastic Four and the X-Men and a bunch of other new shit that's going to come.
X-Men. I'm more of an X-Men guy
Are you into the 97 X-Men 97? Have you been watching?
I haven't watched it yet, but I used to watch the OG when I was a kid. And
have been going. I haven't seen it either. People have been going crazy over this latest episode, number 5 or whatever.
And supposedly they're signing this guy who's behind it all now on real projects, not just animated projects. I
thought the guy that was behind it, the guy that wrote it, didn't he get himself in trouble and get fired?
Did he?
Yeah.
I read some article and maybe it was something quick. I'm blanking on the guy's name, but this dude who, it basically said like big part of X-Men 97, whether it was the writer, the producer, director, somewhat which way, and basically said like he's going to start getting signed on to like not just animated stuff. Which, their animated stuff has been, did you watch What If?
I watched some of it.
It was very well rated. I watched a couple episodes, a handful of them, but it was very well received. So their animated stuff, they seem to have a hold on, and then the rest is a little shaky.
Been hit or miss. I gotta be honest. Like I like The Last Guardians.
Yeah.
I wasn't as down on Love and Thunder as other people were.
Same. I think they went over the top.
I didn't
with
even
the comedy.
see Ant-Man, I'll be honest with you.
I didn't either.
Didn't see the Marvels.
Didn't see that either.
Didn't like these. They haven't been like must watch. They haven't been like, oh my god, I gotta go.
Yeah.
To the theater type stuff.
I'll talk to a friend and be like, all right, how does it connect? So I at least know the whole storyline.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it is connecting within these inner shows, which was really good. I liked Loki, and Moon Knight was really good too. Both of those were really solid.
Moon Knight started to lose me towards the end. A lot of the shows kind of dip at the end for me because I feel like they set up so much, and then they rush the ending.
I can't
And
agree
for
more.
a show, you really shouldn't have to rush the ending because why do you have to have just 6 episodes?
Yeah.
Why can't you have a 7th or an 8th?
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's...
Milk it.
That's just it. That's exactly what they were trying to do.
And I was thinking about this when I started watching it because I'm like, Moon Knight was great, but, if you see all the episodes and put a time on top of it, there's probably no more than 20 minutes of action. Maybe 15 minutes of action. Or now I'm like, why don't they put action? And then I'm thinking, you've got Oscar Isaac, who is right now top 5 comedians top 5 actors in the last 5-10 years. And this guy's got a pretty penny, so they're going to milk all the acting from him. And the fact that the role is a schizophrenic, so he's playing one guy and another, they literally just doubled down on the acting, which was great, but gave us no action and no.
For a budget of over like $200 million,
I know,
that's the thing that's killer too. Is you're spending all this money, and that's why they're cutting back now. That's why they're cutting back on the content. That's why a lot of things are getting canceled.
Yeah.
Because they have to find a way to rein that in because you can't just be pissing money away. And that's honestly what they were doing with, especially some of these Disney Plus projects. Yeah. I feel like they were just spending way too much money and not getting any return back. And, it's one thing if a movie, you're going to get some kind of return back because you're going to get, the people going and spending the money on the tickets.
Yeah.
It's hard. How many new subscribers did Miss Marvel bring in? How many new subscribers did Moon Knight bring in?
Yeah.
And again, shows I didn't mind. I wasn't as big a Miss Marvel fan, but yeah, that's why I'm like, I actually haven't even seen Loki season 2 yet. And I liked Loki season 1. It hasn't been must-see TV to me lately. And that's been the killer, is like, it just really hasn't, where to be honest, I've been more hyped, and I haven't seen yet. I'm probably gonna wait till it hits HBO Max at this point. I was actually more hyped for Godzilla Kong.
I didn't even realize all those movies tied into each other because I saw Skull Island and I enjoyed that. And then I fell short on all the other ones, and there was a Godzilla and there was a Kong, and now there's a Kong versus Godzilla, and now they're teaming up, and I'm like, I didn't even know all this shit was happening. And then I look at all the reviews, and they're like, oh yeah, each one has been solid, you know. Where I'm like, oh, maybe that's definitely a checkout for sure.
Yeah, dude, I heard the action is obviously story's late. Godzilla Kong, you're not tuning in for Shakespeare. Like, let's just be honest. If you're tuning in for the storyline, you're tuning in for the wrong reason.
Yeah. We know he's a big monkey, he's a big lizard, and you want to see him
throw down.
Yeah,
like I heard it's like MMA, like he's throwing shoulders. Really? Like, oh, dude, like I heard I heard there was like some action in this movie, so that's what's got me pumped to see it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one that's on the list.
Yeah.
I don't know anything else coming out that you.
Well, and it's funny. I mean, while we're on the topic of Godzilla, I mean, did you see that other Godzilla?
Oh, -1. No, I haven't seen it.
Well, that's it's like broken every record.
Oh, yeah,
like, they're saying it's the Godzilla movie now. Like, forget the past originals. Like, this is the one. So great year for Godzilla, man.
Oh yeah,
Big G. But yeah, all within that. But going back to DC, really, I can't agree more with you. I really think, and I always liked Batman. Superman, I just thought was so. There's a great. If you watch the comedian, Pete Holmes.
Yeah.
He's like funny, kind of dorky looking dad, jokes. He does a lot.
Yeah.
And for a while, he had a like a talk / sketch comedy show, whether it was on TBS or whatever. And one of like his main things that got a lot of traction were these sketches between one superhero and another, and they do a bunch of them, but one between Batman and Superman, and it's just so funny because I think it perfectly like explains it how like Superman just so clean cut, like there's nothing like obviously he's the strongest, he's got cool powers and stuff, but like himself. I mean, he wears tights. He's kind of a dork, like in somewhat which way, at least for me. Where then you got Batman, who's like, to himself. He's in the Bat Cave. He's got these six.
Too emo sometimes.
I
like
mean,
that's where like you could tell me Superman's out there, sunshine and happiness, and that's because why wouldn't you be? You're flying around. You got the world by the nut. Why wouldn't you be happy if you're Superman?
Yeah.
You got no reason to be down. You got no reason to wear black and be all in a cave.
His parents didn't die.
Yeah, like, he doesn't have the emo life that Batman has.
Yeah.
So like they're two totally different. So I get it that you may steer, but don't hate on Superman. But again, I'm saying look at it from that perspective of. Just think, if you were a god, if you were literally like untouchable, you're Superman.
Yeah.
Why not strap on some tights and be proud of what you got?
He's probably got a big piece on him too.
That's what I mean. Yes, you flying around with a cape. Why not? You got a cape? No, why? Because you don't fly. You know what I mean? Like, exactly. Like, I'm gonna do me. Like, that's where to me, why wouldn't you be happy as Superman? Like, why wouldn't you have that, golly gee, happy persona? Because guess what? Nothing's hurting you.
Yeah.
You ain't going anywhere anytime soon. Yeah. Like, that's where I look at Superman. I'm like, that's what's badass about him. That's where he's like, he's almost showing up. He's almost like. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You don't like it? Do something about it. You can't. You can't though. That's the problem. And where Batman's like, Batman. I am Batman. I am vengeance. You know what I mean? Like, and Batman's got his place too. He's badass.
Oh, yeah.
Like he is absolutely one of the top tier as well. But I mean, you got to give Superman a love. I'm telling you, just to look at it in that perspective.
I got it, and I'm happy that I'm talking with someone who's got that love for him, because now I'm seeing more to eye with it, and that's what it's all about.
True justice in the American way, baby.
But out of all, I mean, because there wasn't. I mean, there's been Superman movies, but I feel like they haven't hit as hard as like. All the way back to the OG, Batman shows. And then you know, fast forward those years, then you've got Batman and Robin with, you know, Clooney and the other guy, and then you've got Batman, whatever it was, Begins with Michael
Who's your favorite
Keaton.
Batman?
Well, that's what I was getting to. So this is tough. So, well, before we get to that, the big question, which I'll love to get into that. What did you think about Robert Pattinson's?
I enjoyed it. I think he did a hell of a job.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hard to go from a vampire to a bat, I guess. But, I mean, at the same time, like, nah, how can you not? I mean, listen, guy's a good actor.
Yeah.
You can't, did a hell of a job.
Yeah.
Take nothing away from him. I enjoyed his Batman.
A lot of people, I feel like, didn't accept it as much. And I thought it was really cool because...
But that's just fans being stupid. I gotta be
Yeah.
honest. That's Cheeto eating, you know, basement dwelling, you know,
yeah.
keyboard warriors down there that are, you know, that just are like, man, he's not my Batman. He's not Adam West. Which, by the way, I love Adam West.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, hey, he's not my Batman. Like, you know, well, who did you want? Like, granted, he wasn't maybe your pick, but it doesn't mean that he didn't do a good job.
Absolutely.
And, like, listen, you're still, if you're a fan of Batman, you're still getting a Batman movie. So...
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
The character's going to change anyway because Gunn's going to have his own too. So you're going to be over Pattinson real soon. Don't worry about it.
But I
Which,
just
by the
thought,
way, the Penguin looks phenomenal.
and that's I'm hyped for that. I'm a big Colin Farrell guy.
And he does not look like the amount of makeup and like prosthetics and everything
Crazy.
that man had to go through.
Oh yeah.
And then to do a TV show after doing the movie, like
it was.
He doesn't look like Colin Farrell. He hell of a job.
When I remember whatever it was like, I guess, you know, 4 or 5 months before the movie had came out, or whenever they were starting to release some photos, and they're like, "Oh, Colin Farrell's gonna be a Penguin," and I'm like, "Fucking Colin Farrell!" I was like, "Little skinny Irish Colin Farrell," and then that one set of pictures came out, and I was like, "No, come on, that's not Colin Farrell." And then I'm like, "Oh my god!" And then the trailer came out, and I was like, "All right, I'm in. Like, let's go. What are we doing with this?" But there was a really great video, and it was Christian Bale, and he said Pattinson approached to him, and he's like, you know, any tips and tricks, and very simply said, make it your own. And that's what I think he did exactly. And being that I had known the background of, he's one actor who I've really taken a strong like in the last couple of years, Robert Pattinson. And have you ever seen the movie Good Times by A24?
No, but they've done a lot of good stuff lately.
They've just got the equation, man. They're just always constantly what they do is they give the most creative freedom. You know, they find someone who's got a head on their shoulders that's been in the game, and they say, here's the money you need to make your vision, go make it. They did Uncut Gems with Sandler. They did a bunch of great stuff. But Robert Pattinson, knowing that, you know, his background and who he was, I was like, all right, we're going to get an even more emo Batman. Parents dead, eye black. He already played a vampire. I was like, that's what we're getting. And the fact that you had this, the fact that the story played where he was still young. He doesn't know really how to be Batman yet. He's still trying to figure it all out. You can tell there's a lot of times where he's like making mistakes in the movie. And then on top of it all, you know, cherry on top, you got Fincher behind it. And one of my favorite movies of all time, Seven, with Morgan Freeman and, you know, What's in the Fucking Box. Being that was the whole aspect of a movie, I feel like there was a lot of the shots, a lot of the lighting that was very similar to Seven. It just got up my alley. I was just super hyped with it, really happy about the whole thing. And it's been one of those movies where I can easily, you know, go back into it and repeat and watch it and find little things that I like about it. So, but going back to who's my Batman, I think at the end of the day, I have to give it to Bale. I mean, 3 unbelievable movies. I mean, I loved Michael Keaton. The fact that you had, you know, Danny DeVito as Penguin, and who was director of that? The guy. Why am I blanking? Another emo dude that does Nightmare Before Christmas. Who's Nightmare Before Christmas?
Oh, Tim Burton.
Tim Burton. He did. You know, it had that Tim Burton-esque where I like that kind of weird stuff. But I mean, Bale's, each one got better and better. Obviously, you have the second one with the Joker where, you know, you can't even put a grading on that movie because of all the different things that how great the movie was, the death of Heath Ledger, everything that kind of came around it. And then the third one, it wasn't as well received as I feel as the other ones, but I loved Tom Hardy's Bane. I think the voice was kind of a little funny, but at the same time, I thought he played it sick. And I think Bale's got to be my guy. Second, I feel like I got to give it to Pattinson, but at the same time, I feel like I do have to give it to Michael Keaton because I do love that movie and it's so good. And then there's Adam West. I just feel like I haven't grown. Again, going back to what I said before, there's nothing like the OG. Without the OG, there wouldn't be all these other ones. So I, got to give it to Adam West as well, just being the main guy, getting things rolling and playing it kind of funny, goofy, but still doing.
Well, it was just so campy. It was just so pow, bam, like
Ka-chow. Yeah.
It was as a kid, like seeing some of the reruns and stuff was fun.
Yeah,
like that was like it was cool to see.
Yeah,
and. Because you enjoyed it. There was a lot of visual stuff on the screen. So as a kid, like, you kind of got it, Mm-hmm. But, as you evolve and get older, you, to be honest, grew up with Keaton's Batman as the Batman, know. Then you bounced around a bit. You had the Clooney, you had the Val Kilmer, you had the...
The Val Kilmer one wasn't one that I really... I don't even know if I've seen... I remember watching parts of it when I was younger, but I've never really... watched it left to right.
Shout out to Tim in the chat, by the way, who says that Batman greater than Superman. He's a big Batman guy.
There you go.
He hasn't had a chance to sit down and really watch the Pattinson one yet. So I know Pattinson won't be on the top of his list because he hasn't seen it yet.
Understandable.
I do think Pattinson is up there like top 3 Batman.
I think he did a good job.
I think Keaton's up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would probably say Keaton is my one just because like that's the OG to me. Like that's what I grew up like. That was the first Batman that I can really remember
going to a movie and seeing.
With Nicholson as Joker and like Danny DeVito as the Penguin and like
Riddler,
that
Jim
kind of
Carrey.
yeah.
Well,
but
that was the other one. Yeah,
that was Clooney. I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which I love me some Jim Carrey too. I mean, comedy wise, The Mask.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those early comedies of. Come on, the Ace Ventura movies.
Oh man,
are absolute classics.
Me and my buddies, we were dumb idiots. We'll just make noises left and right, just random stuff. And one noise we always make from the second one with the Miami Dolphins and that whole thing.
No, that's the first one.
Is that the first one?
I believe.
No, that's the second one. The first one is when.
No, the second one's when he's in the jungle.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was switched.
No, I'm almost positive the first one is the one with the dolphins.
Okay.
Tim is a movie guy, so if in the chat, you want to throw it out there if you're listening still, Tim.
You're probably right. I like them. Both of them are phenomenal.
Shout out to my cousin Amy who's tuning in live as well.
Amy.
Shout out. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're feeling all right. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure that the Dolphins one is actually the first one.
Okay. Which is my one
Finkel is Einhorn is Finkel. It just Lisa's out.
So good.
But come on, the second one, Bumblebee Tuna. Bumblebee Tuna.
Throw it. Throw the spear.
Oh, dude, when he's in the ring and the classics. But to get back to Batman.
Yeah.
I think Pattinson's got to be top 2 or 3. I think Keaton's 1.
Yeah.
And then...
What's your take on Bale?
I think Bale's got to be 2. Right. I think Bale's 2, Pattinson 3, and then I'm going to say Adam West 4.
Yeah,
and then everybody else afterwards.
Yeah. The rest is.
Yeah. So, and that's excluding what James Gunn's going to do whenever he does what he does. Yeah. That's not coming out for another 2 or 3 years. Yeah. So, can't worry about that yet. But I think Pattinson should be coming out next year, 2025, I think. Yeah. So, definitely looking forward to that because, again, love the director. Love what they did. More grounded Batman.
Yeah. Realistic,
Which I think a lot of these movies have been missing lately, especially like the Marvel shit. Like they're going too cosmic. They're going too nonsensical.
They're going all green screen. You can put
too much volume.
You can put volume. You can put 10 actors in a studio, and they don't need to worry about location, this, that, and that. It'll just be a big sonic blaster fest, and they'll just green screen it all, and it'll be all that stuff. Where I'm like, That's not what we loved about this. It's cool. Don't get me wrong, but I think they're like trying to play us like, oh, these guys are idiots. You give them a couple, sonic blasters and this, that, and the other thing, and it'll shut them up. Where I'm like, no, we started with OG Iron Man, where that first
dude, I'm still waiting on the Hulk to really Hulk out.
Well,
like, and I hate that they made him like bitch boy Hulk at the end there, because I mean he should be dominating. Like, he is like the strongest figure in all of Marvel. Like, you can't stop him. His strength is unstoppable. Yeah. It only grows. Yeah. The angrier he gets, the more it grows, and there is no end to that.
Yeah.
Like,
I do like what you
reduced him down to but it's because, and they've admitted this, that they didn't know what to do with him.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't know what to do with power of that magnitude.
Yeah,
because again, he could win most fights by himself.
Yeah.
Like, there's very few people who could stand up to the Hulk.
Yeah.
Like, in actuality.
Yeah.
So I get why they had to like depower him a little bit, but you didn't have to make him a bitch boy. You didn't have to make him Captain Science.
He was all
what I mean? Like,
and all science.
And you have Tony Stark for that. You got other guys for that. I want to see the Hulk be the Hulk.
Yeah, I want to see it. And that was Ultron was a great one where you really kind of saw his rage when Wanda had messed with his mind and he was fighting Iron Man in the Hulkbuster suit.
Yeah, that Hulkbuster suit wasn't stopping.
Oh, dude, no shot. And that's one of the best scenes where he's the Hulkbuster suit is kind of putting a tagging on him. And then something switches, and you see Tony like, all right, easy.
I'm sorry.
Because he knows what's about to come. He knows what's about to hit him. But yeah, and supposedly this X-Men Deadpool is they just released an article saying that Hulk might be making an appearance.
Really? Listen, I hope so. And that movie, I bet you... And this is no exaggeration. I think that's the #1 movie of the year, box office wise. I don't think it's going to win any. I don't think it's winning any awards.
No,
but at the same time, I can definitely see this being $1 billion film and maybe the top grossing film of the entire year.
Yeah.
Everybody's been dying for this movie. Ryan Reynolds absolutely murders this character.
Oh,
like he is so good. It's made for him. Like he's tailored this to his attitude in life. I mean, ever since this is like his character from Van Wilder.
Yeah,
this is like
one of my
he's still playing the same guy. Like, this is Ryan Reynolds to a T.
Yeah.
And then you have him paired with what everybody thinks is one of the greatest casting choices of all time after it happened, because again, people thought he was too tall, whatever, when he first got cast.
Yeah.
Again, nobody could picture now anybody else other than Hugh Jackman in the role of Wolverine.
Yeah.
And to have them and their feud online and their friendship, and like, it's just so cool to see. Like, you ever see them joking on each other and doing all sorts of stupid shit?
Yeah.
Like, to see them now in a movie, I think this thing is gonna absolutely, and I think they're gonna get a ton of cameos. Like, I don't think they're gonna be huge cameos where like they're gonna take over the whole film, but I think there's gonna be ones here, there, whatever.
Supposedly, there's a lot of stuff from different because. So
why not play around?
And if you don't know kind of how they're combining it all, so you saw Loki season 1, right?
Yeah.
So you remember the TVA and the timeline. And
stuff. Yeah.
So that's all.
Listen, I'm caught up on everything. You know, I haven't seen it. I'm watching
as long
videos and whatever to keep myself current.
I'm trying to explain it to my brother, and he's like, "What's the TVA?" And I was like, "All right, I got it. I gotta make the spreadsheet for him and whatnot." But shout out to Nick, the old bro. So I'm so hyped. And I mean, again, another film like The Guardians, like that was another one I was going to say that Hulk I thought did amazing with was Ragnarok. Well, I mean, one of my funnest Marvel movies I've saw. But yeah, all the Deadpools too. There's not one out of place that you're like, it didn't hit as hard as the other one or whatever. I mean, 1 and 2 were solid, and I just can't imagine what's coming for #3 with Wolverine. And then, did you see? One of my favorite things is when all these like YouTube nerds, they go in and they just start dissecting like the previews and stuff. And so they saw, there's a bunch of different little call outs and things. Oh, that's to X-Men.
I watch all that. I watch all that stuff. I got something funny for you.
So you saw but they said they saw like there were teasing Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Because he's laying on the ground and there's
And
a comic book.
right? Yeah,
And it's the Doom Secret Wars, which is my guy, Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom.
But the thing is, are they going to do him right? Because they've tried him in the Fantastic Four before. They've sucked at it.
I know.
Are they going to get it right? And that's
really hope
always
so.
been the issue, is are they going to introduce him in the Fantastic Four? So really, this should be, Secret Wars should be more of his storyline than it was Kang's storyline anyway.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Are they going to find a way to rush him in? I feel like he's too big a character to just shoehorn in as
Absolutely.
a big bad this late. I mean, like I said, you had 27 movies leading up to Thanos. Or 24 movies leading up to Thanos.
The movie is when, I think, or something like that. Maybe it was
And
like
right
the
now,
10th
nothing's
movie.
been leading to Doom, per se. I mean, I'm sure they could go back and retcon and tie different things together, but really, it's not leading there right now. So I just hope they don't just try to like jam him in and like, now he's also of a sudden the big bad and, he's the, doing everything he was in the comics. I just think that Marvel for a long time has done a good job of adapting different comics and making their own story.
Yeah.
And Kevin Feige was great at that in the first few phases of the MCU.
Yeah.
Took different elements from the comics, changed little things here and there, but made the MCU its own.
Yeah.
He didn't make it just this strict comic.
Yeah,
run, or this
right.
strict-
What it is on the
exactly.
On the book, yeah.
He's taken different arcs with like the Hulk, even though they didn't have the rights to him. They couldn't do him in a solo movie. They tried to do certain arcs with him, and and that's how he ended up Professor Hulk, and that's how he was on Ragnarok and all that.
Yeah.
And, which they kind of killed that story. And by the way, She-Hulk, what an abomination of an ending! I got to tell you.
I didn't check it out. I didn't get to check it out.
Oh my god! He has to leave, go back to Sakaar. He comes back. Now he brings back a son with it. It's
I saw the sun and the
the
CG on the sun looked kind of wonky.
It was awful. I don't know how they're gonna do anything with that. Maybe Secret War is a good way to like retcon a lot of that. But it's just messy.
Yeah, the only thing I saw that like piqued my interest from, again, articles and clips from She-Hulk was they had introduced Beast to some sort of post-credit scene from the X-Men Beast. And that kind of got me hyped. But I don't even know how they really did it or what they did. But like I was saying before, love Marvel, love DC a little, but the X-Men is that's where like my love grew from that 90s set, from the OG animations up to the first stages of Wolverine, X2, X3. Not that they're the greatest movies or that they were, even well received, but maybe just because where I was at my point in life, really taking a liking to superheroes, the X-Men just stuck with me, and that's why I'm like so excited. And I'm saying, I'm like, take your time, just stretch it out. Again, we waited 27 years for things. We can wait some extra years, just take your time. Just make sure they're introduced properly. Make sure it's done properly. Because I feel like they had such a big pop and they were on such a high with Endgame being so good. And even some of those movies after, where then they started rushing storylines and getting in Kang, when I was like, dude, Kang's in the comics, like he's just as big or, somewhat of a caliber near Doom or Thanos and whatnot, where I was like, we shouldn't have seen Kang for 7-8 years, and we're just kind of throwing him in. So,
and then the way that like he's supposed to be the big bad, right? But yet he got beat by a bunch of ants. And like every time you saw him, he got beat by Loki.
Yeah.
He got beat by he constantly got his ass. Like he didn't exude big bad. He exuded bitch.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like he didn't exude like he exuded like
as one of the most powerful.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where I'm kind of glad they're getting away from that, because I think it gives them a chance to pivot.
Yeah.
And again, maybe try to introduce somebody like Doom, but I just don't think that you need to rush that story.
Yeah, no. Take your time.
Take your time. So, and it looks like that's the plan that the Marvel's got now, and I hope, and it seems like that's the plan Gunn has too with DC. So I'm excited about both futures there.
Yeah,
because I think
it looks a little bit brighter than what it was.
And like you said, the world of the X-Men is coming to Marvel, and that's the next step. And if Feige was there, believe it or not, that's how he started in the business. Like he's was started on the old X-Men movies.
Oh, really?
And stuff. Yeah, like he was like he was not a producer, but like
assistant production.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something.
And worked his way up from there, but started like years ago with the very first. So he's kind of coming full circle with it again now that Marvel's got the rights to X-Men back.
Okay.
He's kind of it's a full circle journey for him. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And listen, he's obviously one of the best executives in all of Hollywood.
Yeah.
The amount of billions of dollars that he's made for Disney, nobody else.
I'd be pretty happy with the guy.
Nobody else has done that, and the success that they have, even with their bad movies, still making $400 million.
Yeah.
They find ways to bring in money, and It's a brighter future than it seems like Star Wars or some other things are having.
Yeah. Mandalorian was great, but now I'm hearing this Kasha and there he is, baby Groot. But I'm hearing not so great of things from some of these other things that are coming out. I saw Obi-Wan. I didn't hate it. I think it was kind of, I don't know, a little dim, lackadaisical kind of. But the last scene, did you watch Obi-Wan? That last scene between him and Vader, oh man, that shit got me bricked.
That was awesome.
When he was saying, Anakin's dead, and you didn't kill him, I killed him. I was like, oh fuck, man. And they're throwing all the lines down. It was badass. So definitely was hyped about that finish. But I hear like Akasha, I'm getting the name wrong. Ahsoka. I hear that was supposed to be like really promising, and it's not hitting as hard as they thought it was
good.
Would.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah?
Listen, it's a different type of Star Wars tale, and I can at least appreciate that because listen, for a galaxy far, far away, it seems like the world's smallest galaxy because everything revolves around those Skywalkers. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like venturing out just slightly and expanding the lore a bit isn't a bad thing. Listen, was every scene a banger? No. But I think the guy who played Balin, who was like the, I guess, main antagonist of the show, I would call him, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he passed away.
Oh,
I'm
really?
forgetting the actor's name right now. Ray something or other. And you want to look that up. Yeah. Unbelievable job. I like Rosario Dawson. I think she did a good job with the character. I think she was a little too monotone at times, like a little too just one note.
Oh,
flat,
Ray Stevenson. Yeah, he's like I think he's a Australian guy, Irish. Yeah,
but he was. I mean, phenomenal. Like you should watch the show just to see his performance because it'll give you like you'll be like, dude, this guy's badass.
Yeah,
and like he was clearly a former Jedi. It was cool. So like I didn't mind that. To me, Andor was like very political, but like in a different way. Andor actually wasn't bad, but the thing is the problem with Andor is like yes, it's telling a story, but that story comes to a very definitive end. Yeah. Like there's no more wondering what happened to these characters. Like these characters are gone now.
Okay.
Like,
we're good.
They're good. Yeah. So like that's where like this story's gonna end.
Yeah.
Like there's one more season, then it ends.
Yeah.
Like and so it's like I'm like, do I really care that much about it? And the thing is, I don't. Yeah. And not that it's not a great show. Some people call it some of the best Star Wars in years. It just doesn't grab me as much. I did watch some of it.
Yeah. We all like our differences,
But
all
like
have
to
that
me,
thing.
I'm like like with the Hulk. If I'm tuning in for Star Wars, I want to see pew 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 and zoom zoom zoom.
Force,
like I want to see I want to see some badass shit. Like like Mandalorian end of season 2, right when they brought in Luke and he just clears house and stuff. I mean, dude, I don't care if it's CGI or not. Like I just want to see Luke be badass. That's what I want to see. I want to see Baby Grogu be badass. Like that little guy, he can't even talk, but he's gonna murder you. He's gonna murder you. You touch his Tin Man over there, and you're gonna feel it. Like you know what I mean?
I love that. Yeah.
Like and I'm a big fan of the Mandalorian. I think that's some of the best Star Wars that they've done in years.
Pedro Pascal.
I like Jon Favreau, by the way, as like a director. Like, listen, he did the original. I think Iron Man. He's done a bunch of other movies that I like.
I love. He's one of those guys where there's a handful of guys that really just sit a little bit near and dear to the heart, maybe because it seems like they could be like your uncle or the guy that like your dad knows or something. Where, you know, it hits near and dear. So anytime you find that, oh yeah, they were the head honcho on Mandalorian and these other shows that maybe you wouldn't think Favreau would be behind, and then you're like, this guy's got all the tricks in the sleeve.
I've liked him ever since he was Eric the Clown on Seinfeld. He went all the way back that far. Did a cameo. He was one of the guys. He did a cameo on Seinfeld years ago.
He was the boyfriend on Friends.
Right? Like
Swingers.
An absolutely killer career, and he keeps doing really good things. So I'm a fan of what he's done with Mandalorian. I'm looking towards more. I think they're going to do a movie next. They said instead of season 4.
Really?
So I don't care what they do as long as they, you know, sometimes I almost rather that. Yeah. Like, because the shows have some dry parts, have some parts that don't really matter. Yeah, like, drag a little bit.
And that's why
give me the 2.5-hour movie instead of the 4-hour show. Cut out the bullshit. Yeah. Give me the Mandalorian. Yeah. That's what I want to see. Yeah. And so I'm excited about all that. Yeah. I don't think that movie's coming out till at least late 2025, maybe 2026.
Okay.
But
going back to you saying Rosario Dawson, man, she is one actress that I give all the props. When I talk about actors, being someone who's kind of been through the gambit since being young, going to voice lessons and acting lessons and audition and parts and summer camps and this, that, and the other thing. I mean, you listen to her when she talks on interviews and whatnot, and she's, done it all. She's been to every single acting professor, every single coach, everybody. And I mean, what part can't she play? She could play a badass. She plays this sexy chick. She plays, the shy girl. One of my favorite movies of all time. Actually, before I get to that, one of my favorite ones that she's done, and I always kind of forget about, but Men in Black 2, so good in that. And that's just, classic fun Men in Black, nothing, groundbreaking. But I don't know if you've ever seen, and I'm sure you have, you're a movie guy, Sin City.
Oh, I love it. That was a classic.
One of my all-time favorite movies. It's one of my biggest recommendations for people who I know like kind of the out of the box.
Some of it's weird, disturbing, like the little
noir, and fucking like Frodo who's a freak.
Oh,
eating people and shit. Oh man, that's one of my. But the Dame to Kill For, the second one, I didn't like it as much as the first one, but Sin City 1 is up there with some of my favorite movies.
And maybe I'm sure I'm completely wrong about this. That's the last time I can remember Josh Hartnett being big. I feel like that was I feel like that was around the time when he was big, but you don't because there was a lot of good actors in that movie that did different parts and different stuff.
Yeah.
I know he was in it, but at the same time, it was
Benicio del Toro.
Oh, there's
you got
many.
Mickey Rourke. You got Bruce. You got Frodo. Elijah Wood. You got I said Benicio del Toro. Clive Owen. I mean, so many.
Elijah Wood. This was right after
Lord of the Rings.
I think so.
Probably.
Right?
He looks really
because it was
young
that. And have you ever seen Green Street Hooligans?
Oh, classic. Oh, classic. My brother, I remember.
That's Elijah Wood too, right? Or is that who's that?
Or is that not Elijah? Who looks like Elijah Wood? Oh no, I think it's Elijah Wood. That's not Harry Potter, because I know Harry Potter and Elijah Wood sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's not Harry Potter.
Let me check it out.
It's Harry Potter is Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah. But yeah, Sin City, one of my all-time favorites, and then the fact that I found out not too long ago, being that it is one of my favorite movies and already liking it without needing this kind of reassurance, but the fact that Quentin Tarantino directed it along with what's the guy's name?
Robert Rodriguez?
Yeah. They kind of tag teamed it, and I was like, dude, that's why
I wasn't as big a fan of Machete though.
I never saw that. I watched Black Snake Moan again when I was it was middle school time, and I got a liking to that, even though I really liked, and again, it's kind of things that you mention to someone, and I feel like it's only the people who really kind of dive into stuff like that that really are like, oh yeah, great. And then I'll show it to my friend who's sort of a movie guy or girl and kind of not. And then I show it and they're like, is everything okay, man? Like, what's going on at home, you know? But not Roadhouse. It was the one. It was
Speaking of Roadhouse, did you see the new one?
Death Proof. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
Death Proof with Kurt Russell, and he's in the car and he's just killing people with the car. It was great. I liked it. It was Quentin Tarantino, and I think it was like a side project that he did, which I thought was even cooler because everything else is like, oh, Quentin Tarantino, obviously. But back to Roadhouse, I did not see the new one.
Stop it. Get some help.
Because I got to be honest, I disagree with you there. That's where you lose me. The death blow or whatever was it? Whatever it was called there.
Like Death Proof?
No, Death Proof is where like that was one I just couldn't. Again, saw it.
Yeah.
But was like, I could have found a better way to spend 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
You know what I mean?
And that's
like,
why
and that's where like,
and
that's why everything's subjective.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one that I was just like, this is just a little like.
I think the first 30 minutes, because a lot of it is that bar scene in the beginning. But I think the last like 45 minutes is fucking crazy. He's got the chick in the car and he's.
For me, I'd rather see Gone in 60 Seconds in.
Okay. All right.
Because, like, to me, like, Nick Cage, like, you can give me somebody crazy. Like, I want to watch Nick Cage do some crazy shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Nick Cage, he's a crazy man in general.
You had Nick Cage and, what's her name?
That was another one. I remember watching it with my pop. Back in the Bay.
What was her name? Oh, why is her name escaping me right now?
Let me check it out. I don't know how great of service I have.
Who was that? Oh my God, it's gonna kill me. It's gonna kill me not knowing. It is like yeah, oh, cause she's
I got no service. I'm scratched.
Big actress, blonde.
What other movies?
She was married to Billy Bob Thornton.
Obviously not Angelina Jolie.
Yes.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Really?
That's it. Angelina Jolie.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Angelina
Maybe I'm thinking of the
Jolie,
wrong movie.
Nick Cage, where Nick Cage's brother gets in trouble, and the only way that he can help him is he's got to do a job, and like so he needs his brother, and his brother helps him. His brother's Nick Cage, and like they're like known as car thieves, and they go around and they steal these really expensive cars, but they got to steal like 30 cars in a night.
Okay, I gotta check it out again.
They have a list of cars that they have to get, and they got to get them to the shipping dock. It's a specific list of certain cars that this guy is selling overseas.
Okay,
so that's why I got to get them to the containers, get them to the ships, so they can get them sent out, and then this guy can make his money. And it was the only thing that was going to save his brother's life. So Nick Cage comes out of retirement to do one last job to save his brother, and it just was it was a good
crazy eyed.
Yeah,
what's your take on Cage? What do you think?
I'm a fan of the Cage. I like the Renaissance, the Cage Renaissance. Yeah, I mean, listen, I was a fan of his Ghost Rider movies. I was a fan of like that kind of stuff.
National Treasure, I love those.
Yeah, like I think I don't hate on Nick Cage, but again, when you're tuning in, you're tuning into Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Again, he's not he's not giving you Daniel Day-Lewis.
No.
You know what I mean? He's giving you Nick Cage. Yeah. Like, you know what you're getting. It's the same. It's the same with Keanu.
Yeah.
Like, I love the fact that Keanu's like had this second coming. This breath of life because. Again, you know what you're getting with Keanu. Yeah. He's again not going to give you world class chops.
It's going to be him.
He's going to be him, but that's why he works. That's why John Wick works. That's why The Matrix works. You don't need him to say much. Yeah. You just need him to be Keanu Reeves. Yeah, and if he's Keanu Reeves, it's a good time. Yeah. You enjoy it. I love the John Wick movies.
So good.
So that is one of the best new franchises that's actually come out. Not old IP, but something new in the last 12 years or so that have come out.
I mean, the best action in the last, best fight sequences.
the way
all the
all the
handhelds.
different ways he kills people.
Oh my god.
And the way it starts.
Baba
Because
Yaga.
there is not a person out there that feels bad for every single person that John Wick kills.
No.
You feel justified.
No.
Everybody feels justified because you murdered his puppy.
Dog, man.
If you murder his puppy, and I tell Janice this all the time, something happens to my dog downstairs. Something happens to Louie.
Eric
You see him
Wick.
on this poster right there? I'm John Wick and everybody. Everybody's on alert. Something happens to Louie. Everybody's going down. Everybody's getting John Wicked because that's what happens. So there's no remorse. Like I feel nothing for every bad guy he kills. I'm like, good.
And that kid who's the main kid, he's a punk ass. You know,
Oh,
you're like,
yeah.
oh, I can't wait for you to die.
He was
man.
a bitch in Game of Thrones too. Did you watch him in Game of Thrones?
So I'm one of those dudes who everybody comes up to me and they're like, Al, you've obviously seen Game of Thrones. That is all up your alley, being a big Lord of the Rings fan. I never done it. I can't take the leap and take on that big of a project.
Don't.
Because I know it ends like shit. So I'm like, why am I going to do this to
The
myself?
only reason to do it is, I mean, to be honest, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you, as somebody who I didn't
know.
watch the first couple seasons,
Yeah.
I was doing my radio show with my buddy.
Yeah.
Who we still do the podcast. You'll see it on the channel.
Yeah.
My buddy Dave, he's like, you got to watch it. You got to watch it. Got to watch it. Got to. And I'm like, dude, just not me.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I said, come on. So finally, I sit down and I watch it. And I liked it up to a point.
Yeah.
And then they brought in this little shit Joffrey.
Oh, he's a motherfucker.
Oh.
Yeah.
And let me tell you.
He does a great job, though. He's a great I mean, he played his part right.
But I was at a point where I was like, I no longer want to watch the show
shake
until
the
this
TV.
kid's dead.
Oh, yeah.
Till he's till he's gone, I'm boycotting this thing. And I kind of did that with Sons of Anarchy too.
Okay.
With Clay.
Nick, yeah. Nick was he loves Sons of Anarchy. That's one show.
You didn't watch that either?
That's one show that I've been saying to myself, I actually do want to take
One of the
that
best
leap
shows
into
I've
it.
ever watched.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I'm bad with shows. I'm a big movie guy.
Even down
bad with
to the ending of the show, one of the best shows in television history, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Up there with The Sopranos, up
Yeah.
there with some of the best shows of television history.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if you watch one of those two, if you had to watch Game of Thrones or Sons of Anarchy, I'd watch Sons of Anarchy 10 times out of 10 over Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And that's not to knock Game of Thrones, because again, there were some seasons that were ridiculous.
Yeah.
And some things that happened, like the Red Wedding and other things that were unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they were fun television. But by the time they got to 7 and 8, it was just an abomination.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna watch Game of Thrones, I would suggest stopping by season 6. I suggest just
I've seen
skipping
all,
that.
I've
But
seen all
I'll
the
tell you what,
major
House
stuff.
of the Dragon
Yeah.
is awesome.
And it's
House
and
of
it's
the Dragon
fresh, so I don't
season-
need to catch up a ton, and I'm more like mentally.
You
can
really
get
don't
into
have to
that.
catch up at all, because they're going back in time, so it's not like you're not going to really.
Yeah, yeah.
The
If
stuff in
anything,
the future is
you
like
should
200
start
years
there.
in the future. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I recommend it.
Yeah,
Badass. Take some time jumps. Little weird, but at the same time, like, I tuned into Game of Thrones for 2 reasons: dragons and White Walkers.
Oh yeah.
That's what I tuned in for. House of the Dragon, it's in the title, Dragon. I'm tuning in for dragons. Like,
Yeah.
I want to see dragons fight.
yeah.
I want to see dragons every episode. Yeah. And that's what
Fire breathing.
pissed me off about Game of Thrones, the original series. It used to fire me up.
You barely got it.
You
When you
barely got
finally
any
got
white-
it.
you
yeah,
barely
you
got-
got it.
Any dragons, you barely got any White Walkers.
Yeah.
And you got plenty of dung.
Yeah.
There was just floppy dung everywhere you look.
Yeah. Straight.
I
poopy.
literally bet my brother-in-law at one point, because he's like, "No, you're wrong about this." I used to call it Game of Floppy Dongs, because there was more dung in that show than there was in a Skinamax
Swords.
movie or like any. Like, it was. Oh, dude, there were sword fighting. They would literally they spent one episode where they just show a guy taking a leak in the lake, and they're just fixated on him holding this. I'm like, what are we doing?
And I know that
Like-
one scene they cut the guy's dong off.
Yeah.
The one guy cuts the other guy's thing off and like castrates him, and I'm like, what's all this dong talk? man?
No. way too much. So I'm glad that so far, House of the Dragon,
No dong.
they took all the right notes.
Maybe a little
They
booty.
made
Maybe a little booby.
they took all the right notes so far. They've done all the right things. Lots and lots of dragons. very, very little dong. It's been much better.
I'm glad.
Much better.
I'm glad you're happy.
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, it was obsessive. Yeah. I bet him a 6-pack. I won because he was like, no. And I was like, I guarantee you between now and the end of the season, I forget how many episodes we're left, we're going to see at least $6. He was like, no chance. By the time I was going up and I was pausing the TV, taking a picture and sending it to him, being like, 1, 2, and I won the bet. I got a 6-pack. But at the same time, I wasn't happy that I won.
Now your camera roll is filled with dongs. Your wife's like, huh? What?
No, she was here laughing, and she knew about the bet. But yeah, no, because it was that wild. Like it was weird, and I'm glad that this new show is not as weird.
Yeah,
like as that doesn't go as deep into like because again, there's no problem with sexuality. Show sexuality. I'm all for it. But I just think that the excessive dongs were just a bit much.
A little too much.
You know, a little too much. Or the dong to titty ratio was way off. Way off. Sorry out there for family members listening, but I'm just telling you that show was a little weird. And I'm hoping that, you know, that House of the Dragon stays on the track it's staying on. I'd recommend watching it. Like you said, you don't have to watch any Game of Thrones, and it's much better. It's pretty badass so far. They do a lot of, like, there's a lot to it. I recommend.
I definitely will check that out. And that's one. I mean, like I said before, the shows is where it always kind of like you really got to have me locked in on a show to really keep it going. That's why I'm a big movie guy. Get it out of the way, rip that Band-Aid off. I'll take 3 hours out of my day, and then if I watch Game of Thrones.
Did you watch Last of Us?
Yes.
I did not. See, that's one I didn't watch. So you can let me know.
Liked it a lot.
Yeah?
Liked it a lot. It was again, for me, it was a lot of story. They said the second season is supposed to be a lot more action, but I mean, Pedro Pascal, another guy like whoever I just said before. Oscar Isaac. Similar, like kind of somewhat
Your
new
Reed
phases.
Richards.
What?
Your new Reed Richards.
Yeah, and I like him, but I really wish they just kept Krasinski. I mean, they already teased them at Wanda or at with Doctor Strange.
They did that just for fanfare.
I know,
to
but
try
I'm
and
like,
sell a couple extra tickets.
And I mean, they had the TVA portal that he used to get there. So I'm like, we got him, and I think he plays like
people were saying that's actually I think Doctor Doom's like portal. I think
really.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the TVA uses when they teleport.
Yeah, but the way it was like, I think like blue, whatever. I saw again watching one of those guys, whether it's New Rockstars or Street Crush or whatever. Yeah. One of those channels, Heavy Spoilers, whatever. They said it. They were like, oh, this is like something that like if you go back in the comics, I guess like
really
it's like
some of Doom's tech or something.
I think it's some of Doom's tech.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, Pedro Pascal. I thought The Last of Us was really good. I thought The Girl was excellent. Yeah, I liked it a lot, and I think that, again, being a story guy, it told great stories. Each episode had something that was going to, get you a little hot and bothered, but at the same time,
I heard the Nick Offerman episode was tremendous.
I mean, it was groundbreaking, especially for the gay community. It was a big.
No, but I heard even just aside from that, like, because not to get into that aspect. Which, again, because love whoever you want to love. I'm cool with that.
But it was just
at the same time, like I just heard it was just a phenomenal episode in general. The way the emotions went, the way it made you feel, like it just like you felt for both of them. You felt for Nick. You felt for his partner. Like I'm sorry, I don't know the other actor's name. I don't even know their names in the show. To be honest with you, I just know that I heard about that specific episode and heard that it was tremendous. Didn't he win something for that?
Yeah, I think they won an Emmy or something for like best episode. But no, going back to what I know it kind of gets weird with the this and that and the touchy topics. But at the same time, it was like when they first were making it, they're like, we can either get some big backlash from the people who are bigots and don't think kindly of other people and the choices that they want to make. Where then the show aired, and even myself, I had friends who, I got some friends that aren't as accepting as I am, again, being an actor in an industry, and just an overall good human being raised, right, from some good sets of parents and whatnot. But even from my friends... Shout out,
by the way, your dad likes Brown's hat.
Oh, thank you. Go Brownies. But yeah, so going, hearing from my friends who watch the show, who are not as, not that they're not accepting, but it it's a soft subject even for them. And they were like, bro, that was amazing. Like, I almost cried. I was like, you? I was like, oh my God. All right. So they're really breaking down some walls here. So I think it just did good for everybody. And it could kind of say like, dude, you don't have, just because you like what you like doesn't mean you're not going to like some other stuff. So be open to it all, you know?
Right.
So it was really good. But that was another good one. Really excited for coming out. They just signed for season 2 is, did you get to check out Severance?
I didn't, but I heard good things about it.
Ben Stiller directed and produced it. And really cool concept. Again, one of these kind of mind bender ones. But the guy who plays Derek from Step Brothers, the other brother, Adam Scott. He's the main guy in it, and Arnett,
Will Arnett,
not Will Arnett, the sister.
Okay, I don't know her name.
She plays Kissing Kate Barlow in Hole. She's in a ton of stuff. She was in that show about that thing that came out. It was the girl who was being drugged by her mother to basically stay like incompetent and like, you know, it was a true story. And she played the mother. It was so good. She's a really good actress. It's the sister, I want to say. And she's the boss in it. And it's just a weird kind of show. The theme around it is really kind of weird and creepy. And it was really good. And they just signed for season 2 and they started filming after the whole like
strike.
The whole strike and everything. So it should have been out already, but yeah.
So speaking of being angry, how did the strike affect you?
It was, you know, it was definitely, especially coming from someone who's not as prominent in the industry already, where I'm trying to just make my name and do stuff, where it was basically completely closed off to me. Because a lot of the things that I apply for, or I have some sort of connections where I can, you know, get on auditions and whatnot, they're like, oh yeah, they're only taking people like with agents and managers who know the person whose production it is. It's like very, very limited. The you know the industry is already super limited. And then this just kind of put that on steroids. So yeah, it was nothing. I didn't do anything. I didn't book anything. It was really very kind of quiet. But then once they started to open things up more, and then another touchy topic that we don't need to go too much into, but their COVID protocols were crazy. I mean, triple vaxxed, boosters, the whole nine.
Everything.
Like, you need to be hazmat suit. Like, everything needs from the government needs to be flowing through your body to be on the set. And didn't match up too well. So it is what it is. A glad thing it's over, and we're working on getting some more good stuff.
Right.
On
so I wanna you know, get going here on a high note a little bit, but I want to know, because you brought up Ben Stiller and Severance.
Yeah.
And listen, Ben Stiller's phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's been doing great work now for forever.
Yeah.
And I still think one of the most underrated comedies of all time.
Heavyweights?
No. Even better. Like, this ranks as like my top like
Fockers?
Stiller movie. No.
Zoolander.
No, I'll give you 2 more guesses.
All right. Stiller. Is it he's the main character or he's a side character?
He's the main character. He's the main. He is the main character. I believe he like wrote it and like no. Oh no, not he. You're going way the other way. Like, tell me you've seen this movie, and if you haven't, I'm gonna give you a project for this week.
Oh, I know. Come on. It's got to be Tropic Thunder.
It's Tropic Thunder. I mean, come on.
Come on, put it there, man.
That was
one of the best.
That, like, revitalized, in my opinion, Tom Cruise's career. Like, we were talking about Nick Cage and Keanu.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Tom Cruise was, like, jumping on couches, roping and everything. Then all of a sudden, you see him in Tropic Thunder as Les Grossman. I mean, come on. That is one of the most iconic roles of all time, in my opinion. Like, he played that so damn well. It was hysterical from start to finish.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the amount of people they had in that movie, like the cameos, this, that. It was
perfect. It was almost a perfect comedy.
I don't think you could make it. I don't think you could make it now, though.
No.
Like, I think there was
Downey
too
Jr.,
much. You could never do Downey Jr.'s character again. But at the same time, tell me he didn't play that character so damn good.
So good.
And like,
Oh, my God.
it is to me one of the most underrated comedies of all time. Like
Absolutely.
what they were able to accomplish there. Jack Black. I mean, come on. Class, and I love Jack Black. Like Jack Black to me, like I like Tenacious D.
Oh, yeah,
I
all
like.
of it.
Like, have you ever seen
Big,
Tenacious D in the Pick of Destiny?
Huge. One of my favorite movies.
Love it.
Nacho Libre.
He's just funny.
School
he's
of
just
Rock
funny.
is a classic.
Like he did before, I think maybe it was before the Grammys or something. Like he did a version of "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time."
Okay.
Check it out. When we're done here,
Yeah.
and you're at home later,
Yeah.
Jack Black, check out "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time."
Yeah, I'm gonna love it.
You're gonna love it. It's awesome. It's funny.
Yeah.
You need to check it out. But
sure.
no, I'm a huge Jack Black fan. But that movie just had so much, like, again, scene to scene was just hysterical.
One thing after the other.
The premise of it, the whole way it came together. Again, can't make it today. But again, I don't think you can make a lot of movies again.
What about Simple Jack? Can't be doing. Can't be
I
doing
mean,
Simple
come
Jack
on.
anymore. Mama.
You can't make that movie again. But at the same time, it makes me
Thank God we got it.
belly laugh
So
every
good.
time I see it. It's like watching Caddyshack or Animal House or, like I said, Van Wilder. I crack up. Like there's about Happy Gilmore and a bunch of Adam Sandler.
Oh jeez, yeah.
Again, I love our little comedy theme here today too, because I mean Jim Carrey. Like there's so many guys that like we can go back and listen to, or their movies are timeless.
Yeah.
And I can watch them today,
And that's like my favorite thing to do, where someone like you would think like. Someone around our age ranges, you gotta have seen all those movies. Where I talk to people and they're like, "No, I never seen this, I never seen that." And I'm like, I want to drag you by your ears, find a TV and watch it, and I don't even need to watch the movie because I could do the lines by myself. I just need to watch you watch this movie. I'll just stare at you the whole time because it's the best. I mean, I don't know any comedies in the last 3-4 years which has gotten to that level of excitement and belly laughing. I feel like the last thing I saw in theaters comedy wise was Step Brothers, and I went with my family and we were with my cousins, and I mean it was I still remember as one of my fondest family moments. We couldn't stop laughing the entire time. And then I don't know if we laughed more during it or on the car ride home, just going over all the scenes in our head again and just still laughing at it. But I haven't had that in a good 4 or 5. I mean, right? What are comedies that you went to the movies and laughed like that in the last 4 or 5, 3-4 years? 4 or 5. I mean, you can push it to 4 or 5 years. I don't even.
There really haven't been any classics,
right?
There haven't.
I really.
I'm trying to think of the last movie maybe again this is just because me and I'm a little bit older now, but like, I mean I know comedies have come out.
Yeah,
I'm sure some of them have probably been pretty good, but the last one I can remember was like maybe the last Hangover movie.
Yeah,
was like the last time I was like, all right, I'm going to the theater.
That was 10 years ago.
Comedy.
That was, 10 years ago.
And even then, like, the third one wasn't as funny as the first two.
Yeah, the first
one.
The first one was amazing. The second one was great, and then the third one really kind of lost me. I think where we lost it all was that whole, what's his name? I'm blanking on his name. I mean, he did Forgetting Sarah Marshall. He did Knocked Up.
Judd
Apatow. That whole era, it's probably after I came out of
40-Year-Old Virgin is hysterical.
40-Year-Old. There was that span of 10 years where it was the last like comedy boom, I feel. And you had, Pineapple Express, you had, Hangover, 40-Year-Old Virgin. I mean, the list goes on, especially coming out of Apatow. And then everything kind of got political and it seemed to kind of come to a halt. And I'm like, dude, what are we doing? We gotta get it back. We gotta start making some funny shit again, especially me.
Well, that's where we're at now. Is we got to start making some funny shit again.
Absolutely.
So I'm happy you were here today to join me to do some funny shit.
Hell yeah.
I hope we do a lot more of this.
Absolutely.
I'm all for doing this kind of stuff.
For sure.
I love my sports, don't get me wrong, but it's great nerding out on some of this kind of stuff too, because
yeah.
I love all this kind of stuff. And I mean, we didn't even get into all the other TV, reality TV, all the other nonsense we can get into. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for all the topics we didn't even hit today.
Absolutely.
But yeah, until then though, why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
Yeah, you can follow me Instagram. I am Al_Deech, Deech, name Al DeChino. And yeah, check me out. Instagram, mostly my stuff is on there. Got some clips, and stay tuned for some more stuff, especially on YouTube, and a little more stuff with this guy right here.
Yeah, and listen, once you get your stuff up and going, we're going to plug that shit here too.
Absolutely.
So until then, you can find me at The Living Legend on Twitter or X, at Die on This Hill on YouTube. And until next time, don't be afraid to have an opinion, and die on this hill with us.
Peace.